And welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance and partner with NetSource Capital. I would like to thank a couple of today's sponsors. Obviously, Startup TNT, their summit deadline is coming. We're hoping to raise over $1 million. We are going to be in 3 provinces now: Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and we are excited about our new first cohort in Manitoba. Also, the Canadian Blockchain Consortium. We are holding our blockchain summit October 19th and 20th in Calgary here. The website will be up in the comments section. You can check it out and sign up for your tickets. But speaking of making a big difference in the prairie provinces is our guest today, Andrew Goldner, one of the founders of Growthx. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm awesome, Jade. How you doing?
Oh, I can't complain, and you're one of my few. I think my second American guest. So you're joining me from Nashville. I love it.
I love it. And by the way, I just want to, hop on the Startup TNT bandwagon. Huge fan. Love Zach and team. Love what they've been doing. Privileged, as much as we can to be a part of it. So yeah, I just want to throw my hand in there. Is just they're really amazing stuff.
Oh, obviously, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
as an investor there of 20, almost 30.
Great community of great people that are doing real things and making a difference. So like, what a combination to pull off and do it as regularly as they do. It's awesome.
I couldn't agree more, right? And I tell people this, and some people say, no, I mean, it's a whole thing. But you know what? They are one of the main reasons why we are doing this. Putting our startups and all the great things that are going on in this province, sharing that story across Canada, and you just can't do that. I mean, that's priceless.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I kind of launch into the conversation. We're very active in nascent startup ecosystems around the world, and one of the patterns that we've begun to recognize where ecosystems are seeing the success that you all are seeing is there is, one or a few primary life forces that weren't elected into it, simply stepped into it and are doing it really well and are having this amazing consequence. And I would say Zach and Startup TNT definitely one of the primary life forces that I think, at least from our outsiders' view, is creating a lot of the excitement and the energy.
I couldn't agree more, right? That organic growth, it's finding it, making it, and then making, I'm sure if you ask Zach, there's no way in his mind that him and Tim thought it would grow into what it is today. And and now here we are, raised almost $8 million for 50 plus companies, and you just can't say that you're going to go there, and you just can't say, yeah, this is how it's going to roll.
Absolutely.
And speaking of how it's rolling, I mean, you guys you came into Saskatchewan to start it off and working with Collabs, our friends there, I love them, worked with them, had them on here, and you had a very successful first cohort there. And obviously we just went through your first cohort here. The post was out yesterday. I liked it. We'll talk about it. But, why did you want to come to, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and the prairies with Growthx?
When we spoke at NACO conference several years ago in Toronto, our message has always been the same, and it's the same everywhere else we go, right? It's, we're beating the drum of go to market, we're preaching the gospel of go to market, and it resonated. And I think that's really what kicked off a lot of the conversations that have become relationships that, we sustain to this day. Our first partner was actually out in Atlantic, Canada. It's still a partner of ours, Propel. They're doing an amazing job. Catherine, the new CEO there, and her entire team of EIRs and others they're just talk about producing real revenue results. I mean, you should take a look at the results that Propel is producing with the startups that go through their multi-stage program. And when they do, they're seeing the real revenue results. They're seeing, an incredible influx of venture capital from great investors regularly. And so I think really it was just a matter of that message resonating very well with the Canadian audience of both investors and founders that led us, into Saskatchewan, as you mentioned, with Collabs. And of course, now after a successful pilot, the multi-year partnership with Alberta Innovates. Alberta Innovates to me is a great example. In fact, I was just in Indianapolis, Indiana last week. We just launched our partnership with the state of Indiana through their economic development arm called Elevate Ventures. Really great group. Toph is the new CEO, and he just dramatically taking that organization to another level. But I was speaking with someone there who's, again, one of the life forces in helping to create a very rich and vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. They're taking a very thoughtful, intentional approach like Alberta is. And I was speaking to her, and I was using Alberta regularly as an example of the things that we see globally, the patterns that we're recognizing, the ecosystems that are doing things that are well, that are sustainable, that are creating the real results, including economic development, including jobs, etc. Alberta really is a shining example. I'm not just saying that because I'm on your program. I really did use Alberta as an example several times just last week in Indianapolis, Indiana. And again, it's the intent that they are executing with, from idea to exit, mapping the entire ecosystem, understanding the needs, funding the programs that produce results, unfunding the programs that don't, making sure they're not funding duplicative program, making sure that they're filling the gaps so that founders have everything they need from idea to exit. And it's working. And yeah, we were fortunate to be selected to come in and fill the commercialization gap that they recognized.
Oh, and thank you for sharing the Alberta love out there, and we really
All true.
appreciate that. And I mean, we've taken you in as one of our own. We come in, you come to Stampede, you want to make sure that you you make a big announcement, and it's all good. So we really appreciate that. But I do agree with you. I mean, we have support at all levels, not only from government, which I think we have great programs from Alberta Innovates to all of them to OSIF and
Yep.
support from Calgary Economic Development, Edmonton as well.
Yep.
Startup weeks, we're all collaborative here. We all work together. We all have the same goals.
Hmm.
And then when people like Growthx and, come in and say, you know what, we're here to also not only invest, but help and share our knowledge. And we really appreciate that. And again, I want to go back to that post because a lot of the people that went through your program, whether it be Cherry Health, got an investment through here. They were in your program. Al-Karim's been on here. Temi and they Radiator, Brett's been on. So many great great companies that are starting to go there. But you're more than just an accelerator. I love the growth aspect that you teach. Scale, 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 scale. And that is something that I think gets missed. I don't care how companies pitch. I don't care what they do, how pretty their deck is. They got to sell. So why don't you share your knowledge on that? How I don't want to ask, share your secrets or anything, but how do you talk to the companies that, when I highly recommend, I mean, your post is in here, people can go look at it, but I want to know kind of what your philosophy is.
Yeah, and listen, we don't have secrets. Transparency is a core value of ours, and we live by that. It's a responsibility that we try to live up to every day. We're just, like I say, spreading the gospel of go to market. The more people that understand how to do it, the more results we're going to see, and a rising tide raises all ships. Um, you know, I can talk around this quite a bit. I mean, I think where I'd want to start is to say, like, this is important. This is not mainstream media or a Hollywood version. This is people's lives. These are economies. These are jobs. This is important. And for us, remember, first and foremost, to our investors, we take issue with the fact that the statistic of founders who fail prior to Series A is talked about casually. 90% of startups fail prior to their Series A. That's not something that in Alberta that can just be casually mentioned at a cocktail party and kind of politely laughed at. This is an epidemic. If your economy is going to rely on innovation to fuel the economy forward, to upskill and reskill its people, to make sure they have jobs and are prepared for the future. And so as investors, we know that 90% of them fail. And we also know that the number one reason why they fail, and this is empirically shown, is no market need. And so for us as investors, we help solve that common fatal problem before we invest. We started our fund not as investors, but as go-to-market experts who started a fund, right? And by sequencing the path to product market fit, and not just being experts, but in capturing that expertise onto a platform and then empowering coaches to be present in the weeds with founders, going through a systematic approach so that founders understand the sequence to going to market. This is where these results come from. And, we do it, for an obvious reason. When we help founders, we are benefiting through getting unique investable insights. It enables us to better source and select and win investment opportunities at attractive valuations. That's what we do as a VC. That's what you do as a VC. This is what everybody does as a VC. We buy and sell money for a living. I buy money from my LPs in exchange for things like sourcing and selecting and winning attractive opportunities at attractive valuations. I sell that money to startups in exchange for equity. And so, directly to your question and why we're seeing the results that we're seeing out of the program, such as, you mentioned Al-Karim at Propora grew his average customer size by 6x. Also AirTrail, Brandon grew 6x through the program. Homemetrics doubled revenue every month that they were in the program. These statistics are out there. Again, we didn't invent the product market fit, the path to product market fit, but we're the ones who have sequenced it. Similar to knowing that your body has DNA is very different than being the people that sequence that. We didn't invent it, but we've sequenced it. And it's the combination of a platform that captures our expertise and puts it in a sequence and enables the founders to go systematically to market step by step rather than throwing spaghetti at a ceiling. And really, and very honestly, importantly, the coaches, right? This is where it gets even more interesting. And this is, again, where, we can use, we can make an example out of Alberta, right? If you take a look at, and I said this yesterday on LinkedIn, if you ask the founders that are going through our program, every one of them will tell you. In fact, we just did our closing ceremony yesterday with the first urban cohort of the program, and literally every one of them shouted out to their coach, who's been for 16 weeks in the weeds with them, sleeves rolled up, helping them take every one of those steps, helping them build confidence and judgment and conviction so that they can understand what the market is signaling and react in kind. So people like Christina Milke, right? These are our coaches, people like David Bocking, people like Kathy Forner in rural Alberta, people like George Urquhart and others. It's really a combination of our platform, our expertise, and group coaching, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching that produces these results. Again, no secret. Anybody who's listening right now, whether you be founder or funder or stakeholder, can go to growthx.com, go to the Alberta Innovates Revenue Accelerator website, and get full access to the platform that I'm talking about that houses all of the expertise and all of our interactive playbooks. You can go get access to it right now, fully transparent.
No, I love that, and I love that open transparency. And again, just click on the Growthx website in the comment section; they'll take you there. And we've got a few comments on LinkedIn. Brandy, we totally agree. It's important to talk about, why companies fail and the market pull of it, and using. And I know I'm sad as a little bit, as I'm not going to be able to be a coach in the next cohort, but a good opportunity for me. But and even Christina's coming on here with, I believe, in October 19th with 3 other female VCs as we go through October, talking about all female founded companies and all female VCs that we're going to be interviewing here throughout the ecosystem. So I'm excited about that conversation.
By the way, I'm going to put a vote in for the day, hopefully in the near future, where we don't use that term anymore, right? These are founders and VCs. These are not female founders and female VCs. And that's not a jab to you, right?
No.
This is all of us feel the need when we're talking about a founder who's a woman or a venture capitalist like Christina who's a woman.
Yeah.
We men feel like we need to say female VC and female founder. I want us to be past that. I think Alberta can also lead that way as well.
I hope so, right? And our industry and our numbers as Alberta, whether even at startup TNT is almost 40% invested in that, right? I think we lead the trail in that too, and we don't talk about it enough. So again, and
And I think it
I
is
mean, a
something we
topic
should
for
talk
another day.
about. And I don't think it's something that we should beat our chests about because we don't
Right.
act like cavemen and therefore
Yeah.
we invest, writ large.
Yeah.
But what I do think isn't getting enough airtime is that this is not an opinion. This is not something that I'm going to express a feeling about. I have feelings about it, but this is not a conversation about feelings. We don't bring feelings to a data fight. This is a data fight, and empirically, your performance as an investor, whether they be government sponsored or pure private venture, is going to perform better with diversity. Whether that's female, whether that's, black, whether it's indigenous, whether it's people of color, your performance will be better. Accelerator, venture investor, stakeholder, with that kind of a diversity. So again, this is not a subject that I think is worth debating because the data speaks volumes.
No, I can't even say it better myself. I just agree with that 100%, right? And I think our ecosystem is great when it comes to what we do, how we operate, how we're inclusive, and
No
everything
question.
about that.
Yeah, frankly, it's one of the things that you know makes it a very welcoming place for Growthx to want to prosper, and why we feel grateful that we've been
Yeah.
invited in, and that we want to continue to earn the right to be a part of the ecosystem because we share that worldview. To go back to that first question you asked, I think that's the simplest answer. What we have experienced from the Canadian startup ecosystem is that we share a worldview. And whether you're a founder going to a market or whether you're a venture investor looking to earn opportunities, that's where it starts. Identifying people that share your worldview.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're getting some comments from female founders in our LinkedIn page, and there's a couple questions you're going to have to go answer in there later on because we're not
Okay,
going to get to today,
I will.
Andrew. So just a little
I will.
throw it out there. Marty has a few questions in there already.
Good.
So
And by the way,
yeah,
the transparency. I'm Andrew at Growthx.
yeah,
We don't hide. Andrew at growthx.com.
yeah.
Please reach out if you like what you're hearing. If you think we share a worldview and there's something we can do to be helpful to you, let's get started.
No, exactly. So I want you to put your VC hat on for a little bit. And I know obviously getting that insight from these companies is great. You get to understand the founders. You're investing in people, right? Investing in founders. That's part of my invested thesis. It's a top of it. So, what do you look for when you're coming through, maybe companies, maybe it doesn't have to be this, coming through your program, but just in general, what are you really looking for in a company to invest in?
So it's a great question. It's a complicated one. It's multifaceted. I'll give the simpler answer, and we can certainly go into any detail if you'd like. But frankly, where we headline our story is we're looking for learn-it-alls because you can't help a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Where we start, and in this order, is do we want to help you, and can we help you? Notice the word help, not invest.
Yeah.
Right? We don't transactionalize founders. We ask they not transactionalize us. We're looking for long-term, healthy, sustainable relationships. And where we begin those is through helping. Because through helping, that's where we think we can do the best form of due diligence. Yes, of course, at some point, we're going to need to get to the data room. But for us, there are many cycles to be spent building a relationship before we want to get into that data room. And so, do we want to help you? And can we help you? Through that, we build a relationship. We generate those unique investable insights. And then from there, we can get into our investment thesis, our portfolio theory, and some of the more boring aspects of venture.
Oh, and again, all the keywords, right, and things that we use as well, whether it be at Startup T or myself as an investor, right, helping, growing, being there for you, listening. And even as an investor, you can't sit there and tell somebody what to do. Like it's never
No,
going to work.
that's right. And listen, something that your audience is going to hear from me now that just about anybody who talks to me at least once during the conversation is everything communicates. I I rarely find a situation where I don't use that because it speaks volumes. Everything communicates. So let's explore what that means for founders when looking at taking an investment. I'm privileged to be on this show. But it's pretty easy for me to sit here and just preach go to market and why it's important and tell you how much we help people. But everything communicates. I can tell you how founder friendly we are. I can tell you what our core values are. But you know what's harder and where everything really communicates is when the founder goes to my website and they see that, a blog post hasn't been written in years, or very few things have been written about the subject I claim to care about and be an expert at. Or they hear me talk and espouse the importance of diversity, but then they look at my portfolio and it's a bunch of white men. Everything communicates. So I'm grateful that your audience is listening to me. What I hope they do is they dig in and go to our website and talk to people who we've helped and talk to people who we've invested in, because that's where the truth lies. You're going to see that over 30% of our first fund is female founder, right? You're going to see that in our second fund, something like 70% is BIPOC founder, right? You're going to see very recent blog posts that aren't just telling you how smart we are, but actually are helping you become smarter and do go to market things that you might not know how to do today, with playbooks and downloads and videos. And there's a lot of them. And we speak on this subject constantly. I'm here giving time, the privilege to be on this podcast, talking about these kinds of things. So everything communicates. So for the founders that are listening, do your homework. Make sure that the person you're looking to enter this partnership with as a venture capitalist isn't just speaking the words that you appreciate, but that the way they're actually living their life, professionally and otherwise, shares your worldview.
As I talk about all the time, right? The partnership that you're going to, and yeah, the fund, and we're doing due diligence on you, but you have to do diligence on who you want to invest in you, and because it's going to be a long-term relationship, and yeah, there'll be bumps in the roads, but you have to have that core values together to grow.
That's right. I mean, listen, we tell that to our founders. For us, I've always thought of the idea of your brand. I've always thought of that as your promise of experience. So when you're interacting with Andrew personally, or when you're interacting with Andrew as Growthx or Growthx the brand, that stands for a promise of experience. And
Yeah.
we are fallible humans, and so we are going to fall short regularly. But feedback is a gift. We expect to be held accountable. And so we're transparent about what we believe. We're transparent about who we are and how we behave. And we want that to be a responsibility. We want to be held accountable to that, because the sum total of our behavior, that becomes the promise of experience, which is in fact our brand. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jade. We're far from perfect. But it's a matter of being a learn-it-all, taking the feedback as a gift, and just being less wrong tomorrow than we are today.
I mean, and just to let you know, I'm stealing that phrase, and I'll give you credit for it.
Brother. I mean,
I
honestly,
absolutely love that phrase.
we've got to be spreading. We've got to be spreading this gospel.
Yeah.
There is a different. I don't want to say better, because I don't think it's my place to say better, but I think there is a different opportunity. And now that you're a partner at a fund, I would encourage, and I would, in fact, what I'd like to do publicly is invite NetSource Capital to research the stewardship pledge that, as a Kaufman Fellow, I was privileged to help write. And we're trying to get as many investors around the world as possible to stand up beside us and with us and take the stewardship pledge as an innovation investor. You can find that at growthx.com/capital. And to us, there is a different way that we can practice the profession of venture. We can create venture returns for our investors while also behaving differently. inviting previously excluded people to participate, because that makes us better, that makes our returns better, that makes the journey more enjoyable. And so the things that you're talking about, I think, are very, very important.
No, I love it. And again, for anybody who wants to find that, just go to the Growthx website in the comment section, check on it there. Go check out the Stewart. I think it's just awesome. And this is, I knew this would be a great conversation, and our LinkedIn is just lighting up with
Oh, it's
comments, and
wonderful.
you'll check it after. And that's what it's all about, right? We're all about, being here. We're all in it together. We're all here to help. And I want to kind of talk about what you want to do next. So where are you going? I know you've just had a really successful cohort here in Alberta. So, spread the news on what's next for you and where you're going here to help all the beautiful startups we have in our province.
Oh, I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. I kind of feel like I'm a guest on Sean's Hot Ones, where I've just run the gamut of 10 super hot sauces, and now I'm invited to kind of share what's going on with my life. So this is great. I appreciate it. Listen, for us in Alberta, the number one thing is the Alberta Innovates Revenue Accelerator. We're running it quarterly for at least the next 2 years. We're privileged to be able to do that. You can see on LinkedIn the results. I just named some of them. You can see a lot more of them on the website. We have a cohort that we're running right now in rural Canada, because we're focused not just on the urban populations, but at Alberta Innovates direction, and as their priority and imperative, we're running cohorts that are exclusively dedicated to the rural-based founders as well in Alberta. Our next cohort, because we're running alternate quarters between rural and urban, our next cohort that launches in October, mid-October, is going to be an urban cohort. Next week we have an info session dedicated to this upcoming cohort. You can go to the Growthx, /Tyra, TAIRA, which is the Alberta Innovates Revenue Accelerator, and sign up for the info session, which is on the 21st of September. That's an Ask Me Anything. Again, transparency. That's for any founder who wants to see if we share the worldview and if this is a good fit for them. Get into that info session. It's going to be your chance to ask anything you want and hear a community of founders also asking similar questions. Those applications, I think, are due on the 30th of September. You can apply right on the website. It doesn't take very long. Again, do we want to help you, and can we help you? And are you a tech founder? Those are the requirements to get into the Alberta Innovates Revenue Accelerator. And again, that launches October 17th. And I'm also super stoked to announce that I'm going to be coming to town with my partner, Jeanette. And we're going to launch this next cohort live in Edmonton during Edmonton Startup Week. So we'll be at town all week. I'm looking forward to being in town and participating in Startup Week. I'm sure I'll be doing a few workshops, maybe a venture workshop, maybe a go-to-market workshop. But again, transparency. Anybody who's in town and wants to come and see what it's like as we launch this program can sit in that room alongside of us and our founders and see exactly how it goes. We don't have secrets, and we really want to rise that raising tide, rising all of the ships. That's our commitment to Alberta. That's the promise we made Alberta Innovates. And so the more people in that room who can explore, see for themselves whether it's a good fit for a future cohort. As a coach, do they want to jump in? As an investor, do they want to peer over the shoulder of us and our founders as they go through that program to get some unique investable insights early on to help determine whether this is a good fit for them to invest in? Because again, this is not Growthx Capital marching into Alberta to selfishly take all the best deals for ourselves. We've never behaved that way. We never will. In fact, a lot of the times, those founders get funding elsewhere. We just want to be invited to the table, to the qualified founders that we've had the privilege to help, and earn that opportunity to invest in them. And so to the investors who are listening in as well, freely sharing out all of those investable insights that are getting generated through the program, because we want capital off the sidelines and we want it in Alberta startups.
I love it. And again, so anybody that's here to support, and you and I have had some great conversations about the ecosystem. We're always on the same page about it. I'm excited about you coming up here. I'll be up at Startup Week in Edmonton as well. For anybody who wants to learn more about that, just click on the Edmonton Startup Week in the comment section. and I'm getting tons of DMs already saying more time, more time, more time. So I think this is already something that maybe the next time we talk, Andrew, maybe it's you, me, and two people who have gone through your program, and we can
I
talk
love
a
it.
little more about the process. Because again, it's all about sharing, helping, and moving our entire ecosystem forward. And we're grateful for everything that you do here.
Thank you, Jade. Listen, I think that's a brilliant idea. I would come back anytime you invite me. And I mean that. I'll definitely spend time jumping into the comment section on LinkedIn, getting back to as many people as I possibly can who have questions or comments or want to engage. But thank you. I really am grateful for the opportunity to be on this show, and I'm stoked you and I are building a relationship. You and I definitely share a worldview, and I'm stoked for you in this new adventure that you're on, NetSource Capital. It's awesome. Looking forward to getting to know your partners and finding companies to invest in together.
I'm excited about that as well. And, thank you for the kind words. And before you go, I know we have to wrap this up as you got
Yeah,
another meeting at 10, but
yeah.
you've given a boatload of advice, ton of great information here, but just, for our founders out there, please share one piece of advice if you're a startup or entrepreneur.
Yeah, so the number one thing you can do as an early stage entrepreneur is focus. Founders will die of overeating more often than starvation. And I know it sounds counterintuitive because you're just trying to fill the top of the funnel as much as you possibly can, but don't do that. Focus on the bottom of the funnel. Find your signal so that you're not filling your funnel with noise. And that means for us, the ideal customer profile. What are the characteristics of a subsegment of that total addressable market who are not just interested and willing and able and have the budget, but who have the problem most acutely, who
Yeah.
share your worldview, whose sales process is with the least amount of friction with your sale. Their buying process meets your sales process, right? There are characteristics of customer types, which, by the way, are not personas and they're not companies. They're people with priorities and actual workflows. Get into those workflows and figure out of all the customer types in the world who might be interested in buying your product. Don't just look for Mr. Right. Figure out who Mr. Right now is. And we have great resources at growthx.com to help you do that. And of course, in the Revenue Accelerator, we focus a whole lot of time on the ideal customer profile, your ICP. It is literally the bedrock of the path to product market fit.
It's great advice. I love that. And again, Andrew, I can't thank you enough for sharing your knowledge over the last half an hour here. We consider you an honorary Albertan for what you're doing and helping us. And I look forward to seeing you up in Edmonton here in about a month. So again, thank you so much. Anybody want any more information? Just click on Growthx in the comments section, and Andrew is there. And again, thanks again, my friend. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Jade. My